right, welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Leader, where we dive deep on all things leader related to leading yourself and leading other people. So today's episode is brought to you by some of the very recent calls that I have had that have driven me to make this episode because of the mistakes that I see people making on Zoom videos or Skype or GoToMeeting, whatever you want to call it. So the video calls that we have, there are things that you are doing or potentially doing that are really easy things to avoid, that are mistakes because they are breaking trust, not building the relationship, not allowing the connection to happen, and these are easily avoidable. And some of these were as recent as this morning when I was on calls and I observed these. I'm like, you know what, I got to do an episode on this because enough is enough. These are easy to avoid. So there are 6 common mistakes that people are making. And some of these I've made on occasion. I've tried to avoid them now, being aware of it, but some of them you just may not even realize that you are doing. Let's start with some of the basics, okay? First of all, if I'm having a conversation with somebody and I can't see them and they can see me, that's pretty uncomfortable. So make sure you've got agreement that you're going to do a video call, so it's both cameras are going to be on. There's nothing worse than having my camera on and theirs isn't. But let's talk even beyond that. That's an obvious one, right? If I'm doing it and I don't have my camera on, it's not going to build that trust the same way a friendly face is going to build the trust with 2 sets of eyes looking at each other. But it's really hard to do that when you can't see me, even though my camera is on. So make sure your lighting is right. I did a call with somebody earlier, just earlier today, and the Zoom meeting started, and I could not see this person. All I could see was a silhouette, literally. I just saw a big shaded head. I could not see eyes, nose, mouth, nothing. And the reason why was because they had a big picture window behind them. All of their light was coming in from behind them, and there was no light coming in toward them. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can see my face really clearly. You can see every expression I'm making because I've got real well-lit room with lights pointed at me. I've got a window right here. Bottom line is check your picture and make sure that you are nice and clear and bright. The brighter, almost the brighter, the better. Because again, in terms of building trust, that's going to work. So lighting, number 1. Number 2 is audio. There's also nothing more frustrating than not being able to hear somebody. And sometimes these are just easy to avoid things. You can check your sound level and how you sound on all these calls by just testing the mic before the call. Get on there a couple minutes early. Just make sure you're set up the right way. Now, I've got a great mic right here, so I sound really clear. Because I sound clear and very audible, you're willing to listen a little bit longer. But if I did not, and I was muffled or I was soft and you weren't hearing me and you had to struggle and it was work to try and understand me or hear me, then you kind of disconnect mentally or if not physically, right? I don't want to have a call with somebody I can't hear and can't understand and really get a struggle to listen to them. So make sure either use AirBuds or earbuds or the ones with the wire there that you've got the microphone right there, or invest in a not so expensive microphone that's good quality, that can pick up some good quality sound if your computer microphone is not good enough. So audio is number 2. In addition, in the audio category, make sure you don't have a ton of background noise. Do your best. I know we're all, in the most part, working out of our houses or home offices, and sometimes there's uncontrollable noise. That's fine. Do your best to avoid that when you can. I know I've been on calls with people where there's been stuff happening in the background that, well, we didn't need to do the call. They didn't need to do the call right there. They could have been in a different location. Third one is the position of the camera. So what I make sure I do is I make sure that camera is positioned in a way where it's at eye level so that the person is looking directly at me as though we're standing face to face or sitting face to face. If I have the camera down here and I'm looking down at you and you're looking up at me, how does that make you feel? That's kind of communicating to you that I feel like I'm above you, not just the way we're positioned, but it's actually kind of an implied message there, and it's uncomfortable for somebody. I don't want to be looking up somebody's nostrils. So for those of you that do your Zoom calls with that screen open, you're naturally having an upward angle toward your face. That might not be the most appealing vantage point, and it doesn't build subconsciously, it doesn't build the level of two-way relationship that you're probably trying to build. So elevate that, bring that up a little bit. The same thing, I've had people where they've started to do the call and I'm looking into their ear. I'm looking at the side of their face. A lot of people have the two screens going. Okay, I get it, but do your best to make sure that where you're looking is at the camera, is at the actual person that's looking at you. Really, really tough to have an engaging conversation with somebody when you're looking at the side of their face. So make sure that camera is pointed in the right direction. That's number 3. Number 4. Background. Background is actually important. Now, the great thing about this is this time has made us, with these virtual calls, has made us all very transparent, right? You see what's going on in my house when I've got my studio here. It's not much of a background, but I've still got a background that's appropriate for what I'm doing right now. You have a great advantage where you can position your background for your business calls and all these calls that you're doing in a way where it might spark up some conversation. I've done some. I just did one with a friend of mine who had a really cool quote in the back where there's some topical pieces, and it should tell a little bit of a story about who you are. And it's a great way to start building rapport with people. So pay attention to the background. Try not to do it just on a blank wall if possible, or some other background that really doesn't have much meaning to it. Put a little thought behind it. Doesn't take a lot of planning, doesn't take a lot of money. Just taking a little bit of thought behind what do I want to convey to the person that I'm going to be speaking with, and pay attention to their background as well. There's great conversation pieces, trust me, in noticing the things that are in their background. So that's number 4. Number 5, which I've been very guilty of, because some of you have commented on that. John, we hear your podcast and we hear that stupid little dinging noise when you get emails during your podcast. I get it. I just noticed that, or I had noticed it. I couldn't figure out how to turn the damn things off. I figured it out. So turn your notifications off. But do not disturb when you're on those calls so you don't get the buzzing and the constant binging. And some of you, your screens go blank when you get calls and things like that. I think there's an adjustment to prevent that. I think the do not disturb will prevent that so that you make sure you've got constant connection. But any of those background, every time you get a text, every time you get a email, every time, your favorite sports team scores, you get those bings, turn that stuff off so it's not distracting. So notifications is number 5. Number 6, this is a tough one. Eye contact. Now, we are forced in a way to get comfortable with not looking directly at somebody's eyes. And that's actually okay in this environment where we're doing Zooms. Interestingly enough, we've all kind of adapted to the fact that we're not directly looking right in somebody's eyes because you really can't, because you got the camera right above their face. But do your best to adjust the picture that you're looking at. So if I'm talking to you, I'm going to move that picture so that the camera is right above you, so it at least looks pretty close to that. So if I have you down in the bottom right-hand corner and my camera is way up there, then it looks like I'm not looking at you. Even though I'm looking at your face, I'm not looking into your eyes. So do your best to make sure that picture that you're looking at is aligned as closely as you can to that camera. So just some quick thoughts. I hope that helps. 6 things that you can do to improve the effectiveness of building relationships and leading effectively, and making sure that you have the connection with the people and the trust that you want to build with people that you're having these Zoom calls with. So again, love your feedback. Make sure you like, share, give me comments, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And I'll have more good stuff for you coming in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.